People have been doing that for thousands of years. Jesus did that. Buddha did that. Muhammad did that. Many, many teachers have done that, male and female. We have been given the key over and over and over again in different ways and at different times. But you understand, it's like giving information to a child. You can have a 4-year-old child and explain mathematics, higher mathematics, but the child won't get it. So the challenge is that human beings, the human species is really very young, very young. We have only been here relative to the age of the universe. We've been here a very, very short time, this fast. Someone once made the comparison. If you took the age of the Earth and put it on a calendar, 1-year calendar, just for purposes of scale, and you pretend that the day the Earth was born was January 1st, and the present day is December 31st, 1 year, on that scale, all ordered history has taken place in the last 60 seconds of the year. See, the earliest form of life on the planet didn't appear on that scale until the middle of February. Sophisticated life forms, birds in the air, fishes in the sea, didn't appear until the end of November on that scale. Dinosaurs didn't appear until December the 9th. Dinosaurs did not disappear until December 25th on that scale. Human beings didn't appear until 11:30 p.m. on that scale. And all of recorded human history took place in the last 60 seconds on that scale. That's how young we are compared to the Earth. Forget about the cosmos, the whole universe. We're not even the blink of an eye. So that's the answer to your question. Why not just tell people? You know, we have been telling people. Every spiritual teacher for the past several thousand years has been saying some version of what I'm saying here. But we were not ready to receive it. Now, these days, human beings are becoming more ready to receive the information. We have the miracle of electronics, the miracle of global communication with the internet, and we have our own growth. We're moving out of our infancy as a species and just growing old enough to be able to understand and to receive some of this information and finally to apply it in our lives. Not just hear it, but actually do something about it. The most powerful way is to demonstrate what is true. Let me explain. The question you're asking is, how can human beings evolve? How can we elevate our experience of being human? That's a process by which we adapt our behaviors. The adaptation of human beings in the past has had to be done cellularly. In other words, one generation would pass on to another generation, which would pass on to another generation, which would then pass on to a third generation. All that we have learned. So our behaviors have been inherited. We've had to learn through this agonizingly slow process of mutation. Mutation has been the form of adaptation of human beings. So we've learned to put clothes on when it's cold outside. We've learned that we should sleep 8 hours a day if we want to be healthy. We've learned how to eat better, but it's taken us thousands of years because we've been using mutation as a form of adaptation. Now, because of the internet, because of electronics, because of the ability we now have for the first time in human history to speak to each other globally, instantaneously, we now have a new tool to help humanity to adapt. Not mutation, but imitation. Imitation replaces mutation in the adaptation of the human species when we have the tools with which to do it. Now all we need is to find people who are willing to model the behavior that we would like everyone else, that we would invite everyone else to adapt. So we have the ability now to model those behaviors more extensively, more expansively. We've always had models. You know, Buddha was a model. He was modeling the behavior. Jesus was a model. He was modeling the behavior. And there have been many models, male and female, through the centuries who have said, watch me. So, and they did touch lives. They touched many lives. People to this day, thousands of years later, are touched by the life of Buddha. People today, thousands of years later, are touched by the life of Christ. And all the great models, all the great spiritual teachers, Muhammad and many of the other great spiritual teachers through the centuries. But now we don't have to do it one person at a time. We have the ability to talk to millions of people very quickly. Conversations with God has sold millions of copies in 37 languages. So, and I'll be talking in a few days here in Paris to 2,000 people. Not 20 people, not 200 people, but 2,000 people. The hall is sold out. There are no more empty seats. You can't buy a ticket. I'm not bragging about that. I'm simply telling you that people are beginning to wake up and they're seeing the opportunity that is placed before them by life itself. So the answer to your question is, when we find people who are willing to be individual models, to be individual examples of the behavior, other people will pick up on the behavior and imitate it. And these days, we see that there's a thing that's going on now in the world called a meme, M-E-M-E, a meme. A meme is an idea that spreads very quickly over the internet. And we see how it happens. Even an expression among young people that wasn't even used 5 weeks ago suddenly spreads all across the planet. Or a style, a fashion, a kind of a coat or a kind of a hat that wasn't there a year ago suddenly is everywhere in the world. Because of our ability to communicate, we can spread good ideas almost overnight, planet-wide. Now we have the opportunity for the first time in human history to take a good idea, the idea of who we are and why we are here and how to demonstrate that. We have the opportunity to model, to be an example of that, and watch the idea spread across the planet faster than it ever has before. Not in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 progression, but in a 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 progression. The idea will spread exponentially, and we will see a shift in human consciousness that will take place. If enough people are willing to volunteer to be a model of the behavior, what is it like to be a peaceful person? What is it like to be peaceful even when you're being attacked? Even when people are being mean or cruel to you? What is it like to be a master of peace? What does a master of peace say when she or he is being attacked? That's the answer that no general, no president, no prime minister, no leader of any country wants to speak about. But in the next 30 to 50 years, you will see a major change on the earth as we begin to observe that the way we have been expressing ourselves in the moment of attack does not work. We have the ability, if we find enough people who are willing to be examples. In other words, you have to be not just talking about it, not just asking questions about it, but you have to make an inner commitment. I am an example. I choose to not just talk, not just write books, not just produce television interviews, but actually when I move through the world, people will see what it's like to be what I'm choosing to be. See, we are human beings, not human doings. Every great spiritual master has done that. They've integrated themselves and they become walking examples. The only problem is that we didn't have the ability to spread that meme, to spread that idea, so that it became viral. It was impossible for a behavior to become viral in the time of Buddha, because you could only talk to people one or two at a time. But in this day and age, what we're doing right now could go viral overnight. You know, in the time of Buddha, we couldn't even have that communication. How would you talk to somebody on the other side of the world? Email, telephone, they didn't have. So we have evolved in our technology such that our theology can now catch up. There's no choice. They have to increase because it's all one thing. When one thing goes up, the other thing goes up because they're all two parts of the same thing. You can't have big without small. You can't have fast without slow. If slow didn't exist, fast couldn't be experienced. If up didn't exist, down couldn't be experienced. If evil, darkness did not exist, the light couldn't be experienced. So of course, they're both going to increase at the same time, so that we continue to add, because we live in the realm of the relative. So as our understanding of what is the light, what is the highest vibration, as our understanding of that increases, the presence of the darkness increases as well. It really doesn't actually increase. Our awareness of it increases. We become more aware of that which is other than that which we choose to be, because our awareness increases like a child who grows up and suddenly comes to see what was always there, but now the child is more aware, and she sees the good and the bad, the nice and the not so nice, the black and the white, the up and the down. And so it's natural that we're going to be more aware of the darkness. That doesn't mean that the darkness needs to overtake us. It means that we are being given the opportunity by life itself to demonstrate in higher and higher ways the choice that we wish to make with regard to the experience that we choose to manifest on the earth. That is what every spiritual master has been telling us since the time of Lao Tzu, thousands of years ago in China.